I want to introduce speaking this about Steve Bianchi from World Vision.
Hit the lights, please.
So first of all, I'm not from World Vision, although I do consult with World Vision.
Oh, sorry.
So that's okay. That's all right. My name is, again, Steve Bianchi. I've been with this church for about 5 years. I've been a Christian for about 20. And I've spent a good portion of my life in the corporate world. I worked for Hewlett-Packard for 28 years. About a year ago, I started to really look deep in terms of what I wanted to do. And I was mentoring this executive at HP. And it turns out he was sort of mentoring me, which was really interesting or ironic. He actually suggested a book for me to read. And the book that I actually picked up was Halftime. And Halftime is written by Bob Buford. And in fact, Bob has a Halftime Foundation. And the premise of the book is, and it was a life changer for me. I mean, not many books I can say is a life changer, but Halftime was a life changer for me because I looked at all that I was able to achieve at HP as an executive of the company, and I thought to myself, am I getting significance? I've had a lot of success with HP, but it was my life full of significance. And it wasn't until you look at Ephesians 2:10, for we are God's handiwork created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. And I was wondering to myself as I read that, is what I'm doing with HP really what God wanted me to do? So I really thought long and hard about that. I read the book, and it really made me think about different things in terms of what my second half would be. So halftime is all about like a football game, right? You play the first half, you're playing it out, you're identifying what works, what doesn't work, but you go into halftime, in a football game, and you figure out what's your game plan for the second half. Well, that's what I've been doing over the past year, is figuring out that game plan for my second half. And halftime, as Bob Buford writes, is not necessarily somebody that's 50 years old like myself. I don't know if halftime would be 50 years old. I don't know if it's 45. Bob doesn't either. It's whenever you feel as though you want to make a change, you want to serve God. My serving God was predominantly with funding, with money and donations and so forth. But I didn't get the significance strictly by doing that. So I wanted to really have a shift in my life and how I can serve God and how I can serve others. So I talked to Pastor Mike, and Pastor Mike led me to Bill Bryce with World Vision. Bill actually sent me to Dave Young, who's the Chief Operating Officer of World Vision International. I spent some good time with him. And then there was something that was introduced to me, which I didn't understand. I never knew it existed. It was called the T3 Institute. And the T3 Institute is an organization that sits between Bob Buford's foundation, the Halftime Foundation, and World Vision. And World Vision is a major host of the T3 Institute. So I talked to Mark Rhodes. Mark Brody, he's in Washington, and he invited me to a conference. And I met up with 12 other executives that are sort of in the same place in their life as I am. And it was another life-changing experience. This whole past year has been incredible change for me, but it's been all positive. So what I'm going to do is sort of step you through that, what I've been going through. So as I just mentioned, this T3 Institute is made up of the Halftime Foundation, World Vision. What I did is I went out to California for a 2-day conference, and was able to meet with these folks and mentor and just fellowship and really get to work with other people that are Christians. I think one of the I never really had the opportunity to work side by side with Christians before at work. It was my Christian faith, which has been strong. However, there's the work side, and sometimes they would come together, but not to the strength and power that you can get, like in this group here, men coming together that all have a common value system. They all have common interest in terms of their relationship with God. But these were a great bunch of guys that I worked with, and it's an opportunity for you as well, which is why I share this. To do something like this, if you're interested, I could help you with that. But I want to first step back a little bit and talk about the 4 stages of halftime. As I talked about, like in a football analogy, the first stage is really about coming and gaining confidence that there's a necessary change that needs to happen. The second stage is your journey inward, which means you're really trying to do a lot of reflection. You're trying to understand what is most important to you, what are the skills and passions and so forth that you would have that you could bring to a change. And then there's the awakening, and that's when you start to think about what are the opportunities that are presented. And God presents those opportunities. I didn't necessarily come to them on my own. God really presented them. And then the last stage is you're reaching your potential, which means you're taking those gifts that God gave you and taking it to the next level. Now, the guy that's in those pictures there, his name is Lloyd Reeve, and Lloyd actually was the facilitator for our session in California. And he's the author of From Success to Significance. And he's actually, Bob Buford of Halftime is actually his mentor, Lloyd's mentor. And what Lloyd does better than many people that I know is he knows how to connect people. When I think about, and I'll go to the next slide. When I think about what World Vision is looking to do, and this is sort of a key learning that World Vision has. It says the answer to solving poverty in the world is not charity, but economic development. And a lot of us, a lot of people think about, charity as giving food and doing all good things. Don't get me wrong, very good things and very important things. But what the T3 Institute is looking for are people that will help change the economics, because the economics usually drive the problems. We were talking about with Pete, Sierra Leone. I happen to have a project that's I'm actually part of a startup company for solar energy, and we're actually putting something in Sierra Leone. And the problems that they have, like getting drinking water, for example, in Sierra Leone and many other parts of the world, is a leading cause of death for children in third world countries. Water. It's the thing that we take for granted here in the United States. We just turn the faucet on and it's there. And in these third world countries, they just can't achieve that type of infrastructure. And when you look at World Vision, they're involved with water, food, health, education, economic development. They're impacting, and the people, by the way, that are leading World Vision are just extraordinary people. The bravery of these men and women is astounding. Richard Stearns, have you read this, The Whole of the Gospel? This was actually some pre-reading for it, and the thing that was sort of an imprint in my mind was Richard Stearns talks about the Bible, and he sort of draws this picture that if you were to take every verse in our Bible where it references serving, there would be holes all over the Bible. There would be holes throughout the entire Bible. It would be hard to even look and read the Bible if you were to take all the suggestions for serving. And World Vision, and under Richard Stearns' leadership, and by the way, Richard Stearns is the CEO of World Vision for the United States. There's also World Vision on an international level. and they work very cooperatively. But I don't want to digress. So here I am in California at this conference with 12 of my peers, 6 of our World Vision leaders. They all came, and the objective was for us to utilize our background, our expertise, our skills, and either we had entrepreneurs there, we had CEOs there, we had private business owners, several of us, from corporate functions and so forth. And we were asked actually to look at 3 projects. That was sort of the first, one of the 2 major things is to help them develop strategies for resolving some big issues. And the first one is ICT, that's Information, Communications, and Technology for Development. Lou August, who I work with, in fact, I have a meeting with him just this afternoon, is doing great work in utilizing technology. Do you remember what I said? It's important for World Vision to help in economic development. And you might ask, well, how's technology going to help do that? Well, if you can imagine, many small micro businesses that are throughout Africa, for example, really have no means to keep track of inventories, deal with banking, and so forth. And what we're actually suggesting for World Vision is to develop a program where these things here, these cell phones, these simple things that we use to either do some text messaging with, or we use them for obviously calling people, maybe even looking something up on the internet with smartphones. We're looking to actually utilize these devices in Africa for them to run their businesses. This is, if you were to imagine, this is like, most people have these now here in the United States. These are like gold. And in fact, in some villages in Africa, you would actually have people renting this. You might have 10 people in a village that rents this because they need to utilize this to run their businesses. And they're not big businesses, of course, but information can be very, very powerful in helping them achieve some economic success, which would develop and help them as a country or as a village or what have you. So technology plays a big part, and we're thinking about strategies on how can we provide that. World Vision, as you know, you can actually donate a goat or a cow or a pig, and they still need those things. Those are all good things for them as well. But now we're looking to actually offer on the World Vision website, technology solutions as well. So because I was from HP, because I had some technology background, lo and behold, I'm doing that. And the other thing that I was actually asked to help out with is, you can just imagine that there's very few jobs that are available that are outside of agriculture in Africa. And I was also asked to help provide some consulting to a call center. You know those call centers you get in India and other places throughout the world? They're low cost, they're able to help you with some service, generally a service type offering. Because I've had call centers that I've created in Argentina, Mexico, India, a few other places. God just prepared me to help them with this. So it was very interesting how God uses you and your skills, where I thought, gee, what do I have to offer, these people? But it's amazing once you put your foot forward to help, God will help you sort of achieve that. So ICT for development is important. Every child, safe water, that's one of the key goals World Vision has. We had a number of people thinking about different ideas on that. Many people think that if you drill, a well, you're going to find, generally you can find water. Many times you do, but many times you also hit different layers of the Earth's crust. You might hit arsenic or other pollutants and actually take good water and make it bad. So a lot of engineering is required to really address the water issues. Where water not only affects and is the leading cause of death for children in third world countries, it also stifles the capability of people to get educated and to advance themselves in their community. And the reason for that is, if you can imagine, many children, rather than going to school, becoming educated and be able to make something for themselves and for their area, they're out fetching water. And sometimes they have to travel long distances to do that. So the most fundamental things that we can do in these third world countries is provide clean water. And so we brainstormed that one. And then the last thing that we did as a group, and boy, these guys are great too. We just had some amazing people. Funding the vision. Have you heard of microloans? Microloans is providing a capability for somebody that is in a village and say they're very good at sewing, and they want to create a sewing business, but they don't have a sewing machine. A micro loan would give them the ability to actually buy that sewing machine. Or if they're a farmer, to have maybe some farming equipment that wouldn't require them to do everything manual. Or a motorcycle to be able to get around town to better serve the community there. So we're developing still a system, a process to get money to develop those very poor areas in third world countries, and so those are the types of things that the T3 Institute works on. I wanted to just give you a feel for what that looks like, and it was just a tremendous learning opportunity for me. It was certainly a blessing to be working with these guys. So that was all cool. I mean, I tell you, I had a great time there. And, I came back. I talked to Pastor Light and some of my other Christian mentors that I have, and I also wanted to talk a little bit about what my halftime journey is about. I sort of gave you a little bit of background of where I've been, but I would suggest that for anybody that networking is probably the best thing to do. Networking can come from a group just like this. In terms of when you're searching, if you're searching for your halftime, what your second half is going to look like, using other friends that are Christians that would give you some good advice is the best thing. It was fantastic meeting with these other 12 guys. It was very, very helpful to me. So I started in my journey, actually when I was in California, we did a lot of assessment. So I'm going to just share 3 steps. I don't want to go too long here. There's 3 steps. The first thing, and by the way, they documented, they were taking pictures the whole time. So you'll see pictures in these next few slides. But our first half experience is really reflecting on what skills, what experiences, I was asking, what can I do? I love Jesus. I love God. I just love the things that God does for me. But I'm like, what does He want from me? How can I actually do something that will sort of give back? And so I had to work with these other 12, and I talked about my strengths, my weaknesses. I talked about my passions and the types of roles that I've served in the past as at HP, at Apollo, before that, and so forth. And step 2. So after I reflected on that, and I started really working with the network of guys that were there, and they really challenged me. One of them said, "Boy, Steve, you just don't take risks, because they got to know me so well. We were together, for 3 days, and we really got to know each other. But beyond that, we really wanted to challenge each other. So we went and we had flip charts. You can maybe see on there, but we had flip charts, and everybody was sort of drawing pictures of where they are, where they want to go. what are the halftime options, you know, given the skills that we have, what are some of the things that we could do that would help serve. Again, challenge each other and try not to be afraid of taking risks, because, you know, when I was at HP, I had a great job. I mean, it was, you know, I actually was asked to take a new job within HP and promoted and moved around almost every other year. Every 2 years I was asked to go do something else to help out in a different area. So I've served in many, many different functions throughout the company. And I thought that was pretty cool. I thought I was doing pretty well. And then I got the knock on the head by God and said, you know what? That's all fine and good, but what else can you do? What else can you do? And I'm like, oh, okay, let me take that challenge on. So step 3 was take that challenge on and make the commitment. So I had to write this down. I wrote down, I just prayed about it, and really, because I had to assess. Well, I reflected on what I did in my first half. I looked at some of the options and I said, well, what commitment can I make? And when, by the way, when I wrote this, the last line is next. When I wrote this, I thought, I don't know if this is even going to be of any value. Who's going to? How can I use this? How is God going to use? What I'm saying here is I'm trusting God to utilize these business skills, which could go, you know, I could write a little bit about, but I decided not to impact and serve leaders, to better serve those in need while building the kingdom of God. So my experiences at work around strategy development, organization development, around just business operations, managing a P&L, those types of things. You know, those are the things that I'd like to take to other leaders, and you know, and it wasn't, you know, just a couple of weeks after that where God started sort of tapping me on the shoulder, and I started to look at these things. I don't know if you can read that, but there's several things that have sort of popped up, and basically my thought was I'd be spending most of my time with World Vision. And I'd be, you know, on some plane to Africa or Haiti and so forth, and help some of these developing countries. I'm still doing that. I am still doing that, but more in a consulting role. But I've actually found a place to serve right here in this church. Pastor Mike just recently, a few months ago, I guess, asked me to help with some strategy work, working with just a couple of other folks in the church to help in terms of identifying a process, because I'm very process-oriented, in terms of how we can take the church to the next level. What are some of the things that we can do? And so that's what Pastor Mike does. Pastor Mike is thinking about not only where we are today, but he's thinking very much on where we're going to be down the road. So it's been really great. I've worked with some wonderful people, just a few people on strategy work. Pastor Bob tapped me on the shoulder. They needed some help with some strategy stuff. I went with Mike. Where's Mike? Mike Graham. He just left. And a few others that, you know, there's so much that we can do with small groups. So I'm part of the leadership team for small groups. It's been wonderful because I've been always involved in small groups, but I've had my responsibilities at HP entailed significant travel, so I couldn't even lead a small group. But I do now with my wife Debbie, and that's so much fun. We have a great time there. And then World Vision, there's so much that is going on. I highly encourage all of you to be consultants or just be involved with World Vision. They are one classy organization with great people, great intentions, great. They got a really strong infrastructure. They serve God in just miraculous ways. And you know, I've had the opportunity to talk to these leaders, and you just wouldn't believe, you know, a conversation at dinner with these leaders, and telling me about, they're in some remote area of Africa. I was asking Pete about Sierra Leone. I was really asking Pete, is it safe there? Well, many places where World Vision is, it's not safe. And many of them, have had these leaders that have been with World Vision for several years, have been faced with a gun in their face. And some of the stories were it was just so emotional. But when I think, the importance of that to me was, here I am, how am I putting my life, before God, let alone with a gun in my face, which some of these people have seen. And so the commitment, the heroics that I've seen has just been astounding. And I think it's just a great organization to continue to support, and I will for as long as they need me. And then the last thing is the alumni with T3, the T3 Institute, is pretty strong. There's a strong network, and any of you that want to be participating in the T3 Institute, you can be called upon at any time. You're basically in their database, and they'll call you and they'll ask for help where it's needed. But it's a very great group of people that are now made up of multiple groups that have been going through the training and all of that, which I went through. So I just praise God for leading me to where I'm at right now. I feel, I'm not in this corporate job, and I'll tell you, with little significance. I feel as though I'm on a path, and I don't feel as though I'm anything special at all, but I'm going to try to serve God wherever He wants me at this point going forward. So.